Hey guys, you are watching your anime world. How are you all? Please support to subscribe this channel for watching new interesting stories. So in this video, we will see what if Deku became the Spider-Man for his friends. Here is short summary. A hero, something Izuku always wanted to be. But life sometimes doesn't agree. But what if something else gave him the power to fulfill his dream? Follow Izuku as he fights his way to becoming a vigilante to keep his friends safe. But before we start, if you want more stuff like this, then be sure to subscribe and like this video. And if possible, share this video with your friends. Now let's start the story. The night was young and many were out enjoying the city, but high above a skyscraper stood a person. The darkness covered his face as the wind blew a mask he had in his hand. As they looked at the city lights, a radio was heard. "Attention all officers, we have a possible 10 to 45. Robbery in progress. Be advised, heroes are en route." Hearing this, the person put on his mask. This city never rests. Without saying another word, they jumped off the building. The wind speed increased as they dove down towards the ground. Making it a few stories off the ground, they lifted their arms and pressed their middle finger and ring finger down towards their palms. That's when something white came out of their wrists. It looked like string. Whatever it was, it stuck to a light pole, and with one nice pull the person swung. Swooping low, they narrowly avoided hitting the trucks below. As they swung back up, they released the string, causing them to go flying into the air. As they did, the people below pointed and looked on with amazement. The man was swinging through the city. His costume had a black spider plastered on the back and one in front, smaller in size. It was a green-colored bodysuit that had black lining that covered them and looked like a webbing. The mask was the same color and had the same scheme, but then eyes were white in one way, so you couldn't see the person wearing it. Convenience store. Put the money in the bag. A man yelled as he held the shopkeep at cork point. The poor shopkeep was frantically stuffing a bag with the cash from the register. But as he was, there was a knock on the glass. The thief turned to see the costumed man upside down. "Are you still open?" he asked. The thief's eyes widened. "Oh hell." Turning around fast, the thief created a spike from their hands and launched it at the masked man. "Ah, come on, you don't have to do that," said the masked man, as the spike hit the window, causing it to shatter on impact. But the masked man reacted in time and dodged. Landing on his feet, he looked up to see another spike aimed for his head. He had little time to react, but he ultimately leaned back, narrowly avoiding it. "Ooh, Mom is going to get mad when she sees this." Frustrated, the thief now created more spikes from his other hand. Jumping, moving to the side, ducking underneath, the masked man dodged every single spike that went his way. You should really look into a career change. With those spikes you can be a good rat exterminator." Now pissed off, the thief created a spike, but instead of throwing it, he ran towards the masked person. "Oh man, don't do that," he said, as he shot a web right into the thief's face. Blinded, the man couldn't see. His muffled voice was heard as he swung his spike around, knocking down several shelves of product. "You just took all the fun out of this," the masked man said, sliding underneath the thief's legs and sitting a web to his leg. Once clear, the masked man jumped onto the roof and stayed there without falling. Pulling hard on the web, he caused the man to fall and hit his head on the floor. "Oops, sorry about that." He then attached the web to the roof and hung the thief like a pig. "Hold on, I need to wrap this up." The masked man then wrapped the thief in a web, preventing him from using his quirk. "Get it with wrap. I wrapped you in a web and I had to wrap this up." "No, okay." Looking back, the masked man saw that the store was now in ruins. Shelves were on the floor, soda cans and bottles scattered throughout, some open, snacks ruined, and not to mention the webbing. "Huh, that guy did more damage than I thought. But hey, at least you're safe, right?" he asked the store clerk. But the clerk could only look at his now destroyed store. "What the hell did you do to my store?" he yelled. "You ruined everything." The masked man flinched. "No, not everything. See, the lights are still on." But as he said that, the entire light fixture fell and broke. "Look at the bright side, you're alive. And have your money." The store clerk then walked around the register and got in the masked man's face. But the money he was trying to steal would have been less than the cost of repairs. For a second it looked as if the man was going to punch him, but instead he walked past him and began to clean up. I built this store from the ground up and you came along and ruined everything in less than a minute. The masked man felt bad. Sir, let me help. He then picked up a bag of chips and went to grab another, but the store clerk stopped him. Stop, he yelled. You have already done enough to my store. Please, leave. You couldn't see the masked man's eyes, but sorrow filled them. The vigilante wasn't happy, but before he could say anything else he heard the sound of sirens approaching. I'm really sorry about this. With that the masked man jumped into the night. Wanting to cheer himself up, the man went and grabbed a bento box. Making it several blocks away, he sat at the edge of a building's roof and looked inside the bag given to him. After I saved that guy's life, is it too much to ask for a little bit of appreciation? He sighed. No, but he has a point. I should have been more careful. I ruined his store and his life's work. He deserves to be angry with me. Taking out the box, he removed the lid and grabbed the chopsticks. Pulling up his mask to only expose his mouth, the man was just about to take a bite when he suddenly felt a tingling sensation. That's when something wrapped themselves around his torso, pinning him in place, but also had an unfortunate consequence. The wrap knocked the bento out of his hands, causing its contents to spill onto the roof. No, the man yelled, grieving for his lost food. I was just about to eat that. The beef, oh the beef. Clenching his fist, the masked man took a deep breath. I swear, when I find out who did this. The masked man turned around. Oh hey, it's been a while. Standing before him was a man who wore a black costume, goggles, and a scarf around his neck. I finally got you. Eraserhead, how many times have we done this? Your little threads won't hold me. The masked man flexed his muscles but found that the cloth around him was strong. Huh, did you upgrade these? Carbon fiber, Eraserhead said, stronger than steel and high tensile strength. You won't break out so easily now. Interesting, it's about time they built it. But still, it's such a waste. The masked man then outputted a bit more strength and snapped the fibers. You could have used it to make a net of some kind. It would have been much better. Eraserhead was surprised as his capture weapon snapped. How strong are you? Strong enough, the man said. Anyway, if we're done here then I should go. It was nice seeing you again. Maybe next time don't ruin my food. Later. Wait, Eraserhead yelled out. Won't you consider becoming a hero? A real hero. We both know you do more good than harm. But you need to do this the right way. UA is about to hold the entrance exam. Why don't you participate? Stopping at the edge of the building, the masked man turned his head slightly. It would get the police and heroes off your back for once. Not to mention you can live a normal life. I can even get you a recommendation. The man laughed slightly. That's a tempting offer, Eraser, but no, sorry. I got people who I want to protect. You can do that while being a hero. Eraserhead argued back. Whatever it is that happened before, I can assure you it won't happen again. Yeah, you're right, the masked man said, his tone shifting. You can't lose everything when you already have. With that the man jumped from the building, but not before he threw a web at the bag holding the other bento box. Eraserhead watched as he swung away from building to building. What the hell happened to you, kid? As he swung throughout the city, the masked man couldn't focus. He was distracted by the questions and proposition Eraserhead gave him. He would have taken the offer a few months ago, but not anymore, not after what happened. Sticking to the side of a building, the man looked at the city, the skyline reflecting off of the sockets of his eyes. Maybe it would be better if I just stop. He quickly shook his head. No, I can't stop. If I do then she'll have to face this. And there's no way I would let that happen. Swinging away once again, the man went on to fight crime throughout the night. Eventually dawn was starting to break, so he went home. Making sure no one was following, he landed behind an alley next to a run-down apartment building. He kept a stash of clothes there near the electrical panel. Grabbing it, he quickly changed clothes and was now sporting a white shirt, green jacket, and black jeans. This is also the time we noticed that this was no man, but a teenager. Meet Izuku Midoriya, 15 years old. He has messy green hair, green eyes, and two strange-looking bracelets on his wrists. Grabbing his backpack where his costume was, he needed to get back inside. Looking up, Izuku was standing near a fire escape. Jumping up, he grabbed the railing and pulled himself up with ease. Doing this 5 times out, he made it to the 5th floor. Slowly and gently Izuku opened the window to the room and went back inside. Closing the window behind him, he turned on the lights. "I'm home," he announced, but no one answered. The apartment was small, and only had 1 room, but was equipped with a bathroom, kitchen, and other basic necessities. Going to his room, Izuku tossed the bag onto the bed and then threw himself on it. "Man, I really need to stop staying out so late. I have to meet up with her tomorrow." Closing his eyes, Izuku fell asleep. Morning. Still asleep, Izuku snored as someone walked into his room and quietly walked towards the bed. "Gosh, what am I going to do with you?" they said, sighing. "Well, how should I wake him up this time?" "The usual." "Yeah, let's go with the usual." An evil smile then fell across the person's face. Izuku was laying on the bed when he suddenly got the tingling sensation. Snapping his eyes open, he was rudely awakened by someone's full body weight landing on his abdomen. Letting out a grunt, he struggled to speak. Heavy." "Hey, I am not heavy, take that back," the person yelled while grabbing Izuku's face. Slowly opening his eyes, Izuku saw who it was. "Did you have to give me the people's elbow?" On top of him was a girl, around his age, with brown-colored hair, hazelnut-colored eyes, and 2 blush marks. This was Ochako Uraraka, a childhood friend of Izuku's, or rather his self-proclaimed caretaker. Was it effective? Yes. Was it necessary? Probably not. Izuku grunted as a playful smile was plastered on Uraraka's face. He sighed in defeat. "Can you get off of me already?" "Oh, why? You don't like it when your cute childhood friend comes to wake you up?" Uraraka asked, teasing the poor boy. Izuku rolled his eyes. "Is that how you want to play it? Fine." He suddenly sat up and grabbed Uraraka by the waist and began to tickle her sides. The girl burst out laughing as she reeled back, holding back tears. Stop," she yelled out, laughing and crying. Midoriya, stop. Please, I can't breathe." Izuku smirked as he continued his attack. "Nope, you started this, now say you're sorry." Falling back onto the bed, Uraraka tossed and turned as she couldn't do anything. That is until she remembered. Mustering up every bit of willpower she had, Uraraka managed to reach out and touch Izuku's arm. This caused the boy to begin to float. "Whoa, hey. No fair." Finally able to catch her breath, Uraraka stood up. Her face was red with tears running down her eyes. "You should have stopped when I told you to. Now my clothes are all wrinkled. Now say you're sorry." Hitting the ceiling, Izuku sighed. "I'm sorry, okay. Now please let me down." Uraraka smirked. "Good." Touching the tips of her fingers together, the girl deactivated her quirk. This caused Izuku to come crashing onto the bed. "Man, what a way to wake up. Come on, we're going to be late," Uraraka said, getting off the bed. "You remember what day it is today, right?" Izuku nodded. "How could I forget?" He then turned to a picture on the desk. "It's the day I lost her." Cemetery. Arriving at a tombstone, both Izuku and Uraraka placed a flower on the stone that read, "Inko Midoriya, a loving mother, daughter, and wife. May she be forever in our hearts." Taking a knee, Izuku smiled. "Hi Mom, it's been a while since I last visited, but don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you. High school starts up soon. I'm applying for the support department at UA. The exams are actually on Monday." Speaking of UA, Uraraka here is trying out for the hero course. She may be a bit annoying at times, but she'll be a great hero. "Oh, and don't worry about me, I'm eating well, sleeping plenty, and keeping up with my studies. I miss you Mom, more every day." It was now Uraraka's turn to kneel down. "Hey Inko, don't worry about Midoriya. He's a handful, but I'm taking care of him, just like you wanted to. Sure, he's a bit reckless, lazy, dumb at times, but he's also kind, sweet, and loving. I'll keep watching over him." After saying a few more things, the two got up and began to leave. "You didn't have to say that I'm lazy," Izuku said playfully. Uraraka laughed. "She already knew, I'm sure. Besides, I'm right, aren't I?" Walking away, they didn't seem to notice that someone else appeared from behind a tree holding a bouquet of flowers. It looked like a kid. They had spiky blonde hair, red eyes, and wore a black jacket. Once the two were out of the cemetery, Izuku had a sad look on his face. Uraraka took notice. "Are you all right?" Izuku nodded. Yeah, I'll be fine. It's just hard not to think of the past, you know. Come with me." Uraraka then grabbed Izuku by the arm and dragged him along. After a short train ride, the two made it to the sea. Walking a few blocks away, they made it to a rocky part of the beach. They then climbed over the rocks and made it to a clearing. "Do you remember this place?" Uraraka asked. Izuku grabbed a rock and tossed it up before catching it again. "How could I forget?" he said. "It's where I first met you. 10 years ago." A 5-year-old Izuku was sitting down on the sand crying his little eyes out. He had gotten lost after deciding that he wanted to run away from home. The reason? He was quirkless. In this world, people have something called quirks. They are special powers that manifest when they are young, typically around 4 to 5 years old. Unfortunately, some never manifest a quirk. These people are referred to as quirkless and make up only a fraction of the world's population. Back to Izuku. After finding out this news, he ran away. But now he was alone at an unknown beach at an unknown place. "Mom, Dad," he said through his sobs. Just then he heard something land on the sand behind him. Turning around, the boy noticed that it was a girl. "Hey, are you okay?" It was a younger version of Uraraka. Walking over, she gently patted him on the head. There, don't cry." "Who are you?" he asked, more confused than scared at this point. The girl smiled. "My name is Ochako Uraraka. It's nice to meet you." Present day. "I still remember how much you were crying," Uraraka said, playing with the sand. Izuku chuckled. "Yeah, I did cry a lot back then." "Do you still want to be a hero?" Uraraka asked. "Ever since we were little, all you talked about was how you were going to be like All Might." Izuku threw the rock into the sea. "I mean, yeah, I still do. But I know that's not possible anymore. But if I join the support department, then I should be able to build you some gear. And besides, at least you'll be able to become one. And if you're able to become one, then I'll be happy." Hearing that made Uraraka blush. "I'll still have to pass the entrance exam, you know." "You'll pass, I know you will." Grabbing another rock, he threw that one into the sea. "Besides, if they don't, I'll personally walk up to UA and kick their asses." Izuku was then smacked over the head. "If you do that, they definitely wouldn't let me in." "It was just a joke," Izuku said, rubbing the back of his head. "I was just trying to be supportive." Uraraka smiled, leaned over, and planted a kiss on Izuku's cheek. "Yeah, I know. And thanks." Izuku placed a hand over where she kissed him. "Uraraka, out in public. We can at least go back to my place. And you ruined it." Uraraka turned and began to walk away. "Why'd I even bother?" Wait, I was just kidding, Uraraka. Hold on," he said, chasing after her. After apologizing to Uraraka, Izuku walked her home and finally decided to go home himself. There was still time before he would go out on patrol, so he decided to relax a bit. Sitting down on his couch, Izuku thought back to how this all started. How he became a vigilante. But to get to that story, we first have to know how Izuku got his powers and why he was hiding it from everyone. Less than 1 year ago. In middle school, life wasn't the easiest. Because of his quirklessness, Izuku was bullied at school, but the biggest offender was a boy named Katsuki Bakugo. He was also a childhood friend of Izuku, but he was now his greatest source of pain. Uraraka tried to intervene when she could, and many times she did, usually coming to blows with the boy. But she couldn't be there all the time. At times Izuku would go home with burns from Bakugo's quirk, and his mother Inko did contact the school. But since he was quirkless, their complaints were ignored. Inko and Uraraka tried their best to help Izuku, but nothing was working. "Maybe the school trip will help him. Come on, Midoriya, cheer up," Uraraka said, sitting beside the young boy on the bus. "You remember where we are going, right?" Izuku was looking out the window. "Yeah, I remember. Come on, you are going to nerd out when we get there," Uraraka said, trying to cheer him up. What she was saying piqued Izuku's interest. They were, after all, going to visit Japan's biggest producer, supplier, and manufacturer of hero equipment. Yaoyorozu Corp., or Y Corp for short. It was run by a man named Shin Yaoyorozu, who quickly became the most influential person in Japan. He has personally invited Izuku's school to visit his research and development labs to inspire the kids of the future. Arriving at the tall building, the class was surprised to see it. Quite impressive, isn't it? Someone asked as they all stood around. They all turned to find a tall man wearing a suit, who had black-colored eyes and short dark hair. "Mr. Yaoyorozu," the teacher yelled out, "what are you doing out here? I wanted to meet your class myself," he said, with a smile. "And please, it's Shin. Shall we head inside and see what the future has in store for us?" With Shin at the front, he led them through the entire building. And Izuku was ecstatic. The things he saw shocked him, made him curious, and generally brightened his mood. They eventually came to the research and development section of the tour. Here you see our amazing scientists hard at work. I believe they are currently trying to find a way to strengthen the tensile strength of capture weapons. Those heroes like Eraserhead have good use for such a product. Unfortunately, it seems like they are having some trouble. The material we use breaks from the pressure. Oh well, you can't have success without a couple of setbacks. Why not weave the material directly into the capture weapon? Izuku questioned. Shin stopped. I'm sorry. Everyone turned to Izuku. Why yeah, if you weave the material directly into the capture weapon, it will keep most of its tensile strength and flexibility. Assuming you're using a material like carbon fiber, that is. Shin was at a loss for words, but how would you bond the two together? Someone asked. Appearing from behind Shin was a girl, who was roughly around Izuku's age, but rather tall. She had long black hair and eyes. Synthesize the fabric at a molecular level. Izuku explained. That way it will bond with the material directly. The girl smiled. What's your name? She asked. Izuku. Midoriya, he replied. Midoriya, you're smart, I like that, the girl said, getting close to the boy. Now face to face, she grabbed Izuku's hand. Would you consider working here for me? Izuku blushed hard at the sudden proposal. I mean. That's when Uraraka stepped in and separated the two. Hey, let him go. Oh my, the girl said, stepping back. That was rather rude, I was in the middle of something. You're the rude one, Uraraka argued. Who gets so close anyway? Matter of fact, who the heck are you? Oh, I never introduced myself. The girl smiled. My name is Momo Yaoyorozu, I'm President Shin's daughter. And who are you? Ochako Uraraka, she said, with a hint of anger. Momo hummed. Uraraka, I see. I assume you're his girlfriend then. Pity, if he needed more convincing I could have enticed him with my, how shall we say, natural beauty. Uraraka blushed. She tried to speak, but that's when Shin stepped in. All right Momo, that's enough. You can't just go around hiring people, that's more my job. But you were right, Midoriya was it. That suggestion you made, I think it might actually work. Most impressive. Izuku rubbed the back of his head. Thank you, sir. After you finish high school, why don't you apply here for work? With your talent, I wonder what other fine inventions you can make. Shin cleared his throat. But enough about that, let's continue on with the tour. Uraraka turned to Izuku and found him watching Momo leave. She then proceeded to smack him over the head. Ow. What the hell was that for? That's for not saying anything. Uraraka explained. She was trying to seduce you. Almost worked too, Izuku said under his breath. What was that? Uraraka asked, glaring at the boy. Izuku stepped back. Nothing, it was nothing. The field trip went on as normal and it was now around lunchtime. Yacorp was kind enough to provide lunch for the class at their cafeteria, which had several options. Before Izuku grabbed his food, he decided to wash his hands. Going to the restroom, he did just that, but as he was going to leave, someone pushed him back inside. Izuku fell on his butt as he looked up to see Bakugo, an old friend of his. What the hell was that earlier? Bakugo asked, getting in Izuku's face. What, just because you're a nerd think you're better than me? Izuku was confused. What? I never said anything like that. But you thought of it, didn't you? Bakugo asked, sticking his finger in Izuku's chest. And no, I swear. But Bakugo didn't believe him. He then grabbed Izuku by the shirt. Listen here you little shit, when we get back to school I'll make sure you beat you so bad that you won't be able to think like that again. Understood. Letting Izuku go, Bakugo now stood over him. Now pick your quirkless ass up. With that Bakugo let Izuku go. While on the floor Izuku sighed. He was used to this, truth be told, it was normally a lot worse. Picking himself back up, Izuku went to wash his hands again, but unknown to him, he had a small friend approaching. From the roof a spider slowly began to descend, its web attached to the ceiling. It landed on Izuku's back without him noticing, it then traveled down his back and towards his arms. Still unaware Izuku was walking back to the cafeteria area. He was about to open the door to get there but as he reached for the handle he noticed the spider on his forearm. Izuku jumped and tried to smack it off but the spider moved. He moved his arm around trying to throw it off but it managed to stay on and travel to the palm of his hand. That's when it happened, the spider bit him. Izuku winced in pain as it sank its fangs. While it was occupied Izuku managed to hit it, causing it to fall onto the ground. He tried stepping on it but missed as it ran into a small hole in the wall. Damn it, he yelled out, hope it wasn't venomous. Feeling fine, Izuku went back to eat with the others. The trip went on after lunch and the students did get to see a lot of what Y Corp was working on. Overall Izuku found it entertaining, while Uraraka was confused by all the science talk. Now back at school the class was given the rest of the time to talk amongst each other, since there was only an hour left for school to let out. Bakugo tried to make good on his threat but saw that Uraraka wasn't leaving Izuku alone. He decided to back off for today. Now officially out of school the two decided to walk home together. Izuku stretched his arms out. Man, that bus ride Ed. Tell me about it. But it was fun. Uraraka said. So, are you going to work there after you graduate high school? I mean, it looks like you already have a job opportunity. Yeah, maybe I will. And hey, maybe I'll run into that girl with the nice, but before Izuku could finish that sentence Uraraka smacked him over the head. I was going to say hair. Geez. Sure you were. Uraraka said, pouting. Jealous much. Whatever, I'll see you tomorrow Uraraka. Izuku then waved as he turned the street corner. Uraraka lived a block over in the opposite direction. I'll be waiting for you here, later. Uraraka yelled out as he left her view. Making it home he opened the door. I'm home. He announced. Peeking out from the kitchen was Inko Midoriya, his mother. Oh Izuku, how was the trip? It was good mom, saw a lot of interesting inventions. Also got a job opportunity. Izuku said as he went to his room. Maybe I'll work there when I'm older. Really? My baby boy is being scouted already? Inko asked, impressed. Izuku was changing clothes when he noticed the bite mark. It was red and swollen. Brushing it off he quickly changed and went back to the living room. I know right, it's a bit strange. What's for dinner? I'm making some grilled fish, now go wash up, it's almost ready. Said Inko. Nodding Izuku went off to wash his hands. The two then enjoyed a wonderful meal. Inko did point out the mark on his hand, but Izuku brushed it off as a mosquito bite. Once finished with his meal Izuku studied for a bit before falling asleep. But his sleep didn't last long. Snapping his eyes open Izuku could feel his body burning. Sweat was dripping down his forehead, his pupils were dilated, his pulse fast. He tried to call out to his mom but no words escaped his lips. Finding the strength, Izuku managed to get to his feet. He took a step but quickly felt lightheaded and collapsed onto the floor. What's going on? Am I going to die? Rolling onto his back his heart rate increased even more. He reached out but as he did his eyes rolled into the back of his head. Izuku had passed out. The next morning the sound of his alarm woke him up. Izuku turned it off. Man, why is school so early? He said, still half asleep. That dream was vivid. He walked towards the bathroom. He reached out to open the door but as he did the handle broke off. That woke Izuku right up. He said, holding the broken handle. Must have been already broken if it came off like that. Putting it aside he went to wash his face. Once done he went to get changed. Taking off his shirt he noticed something even more shocking. Huh. Looking down at himself Izuku noticed that he had a six-pack and was now more toned. What the? He had been working out but he was nowhere near this level. Running back to his bedroom he grabbed his phone. Sudden muscle growth. Steroids. No, quirk. No, impossible. What the hell happened to me? Wait. The spider, it bit me. He then tried to toss his phone but much to his surprise the phone was stuck to his hand. He tried shaking it off but it wouldn't move. He tried again but the same result. Curious, he lifted his hand and flipped it upside down, it still wouldn't fall. What the hell is going on? But before he could think of an answer someone called out to him, "Hey Midoriya. Are you ready?" It was Uraraka, and she was just outside his door. "I'm coming in all right." Izuku was going to say something but it was already too late. Opening the door she saw him standing without his shirt. Uraraka paused for a moment, the silence was loud, she then sighed, "How have you not changed yet? Hurry up, get dressed, eat, and let's go, we are going to miss the train. Food is ready on the table." She then closed the door. Izuku was a bit surprised, she clearly saw him but didn't mention anything about his physique. Huh, that was weird, whatever, I need to hurry. Little did he know Uraraka quietly walked over to the sofa, sat down, and immediately began to blush. What the hell, what the hell? She yelled internally. Was he always that muscular? I know he was working out but this much. He looked so good. Uraraka quickly shook her head. What am I thinking? No, bad Ochako, bad. You can't have those thoughts. I mean I can but no. I'm ready, Izuku said, appearing from his room. Uraraka flinched as she turned to look at him. What's wrong? And no, it's nothing, she said. Come on, your mom served you something before leaving for work. Izuku nodded and quickly went to eat so they could catch the train. They ran out of Izuku's apartment and towards the station. As he ran Izuku noticed that his body was lighter and faster than usual. I need to explore what I can do later. Maybe Uraraka can help me. No, telling her that I suddenly have powers will freak her out. I'll keep it a secret until I know what I can do. It was now later that same day and Izuku made it back home and found the heaviest weights he had, which were a pair of 45-pound dumbbells. It was part of the set he bought and never really thought he could lift it, until now. Reaching down Izuku lifted the dumbbell off the floor and began to curl it like it was nothing. What seemed impossible for him just yesterday now turned into reality. Izuku let out a small laugh as he saw how easily he lifted it. This is amazing, maybe I can do the other. He then reached out for the second dumbbell and lifted it off the ground. As he curled he got the ever so brilliant idea of tossing one into the air. He then caught it and seeing that it was too easy decided to juggle them. Catching them once again Izuku set them down and decided to find something heavier. Going into the kitchen he looked at the fridge. Squatting down he wrapped the fridge in a hug and lifted. To his surprise this too was easy. Okay, I am officially so much stronger than I was before. Izuku set down the fridge, just how strong I don't know. I'll need to find my upper limit. Oh, I should also probably see how much my speed has increased. Just wait until I tell Uraraka about this. But as he thought about it a thought swirled inside his head, no wait. If that spider really did give me powers then the company would want to replicate it. They'll probably want to run hundreds of tests, maybe they'll even lock me up and use me as some sort of experiment. No, I won't let that happen, in fact I have a better idea. Present time. The two looked on into the sunset and watched it disappear. A whole lot has changed since then, huh? Uraraka mentioned. Izuku nodded. You can say that again. Are you ready for Monday? I think I am, Uraraka answered. I've been training and studying hard so I should be fine. But I hear they change the exam every year so last year students can't help. You'll be fine, Izuku assured her. Remember, if you don't get in I'll kick their butts. Uraraka giggled. Yeah, I'm sure you will. Think about it, if we both get in we can hang out like we always do. Sure, we'll be in different departments but it should work out. Yes, I can finally get a girlfriend. Uraraka then jabbed his side. OWW, I was kidding. And you wonder why you've never had a boyfriend. What was that? Uraraka asked, her fist raised. I can say the same about you, you've never had a girlfriend. Yeah, I know. Izuku then turned away and mumbled, maybe it's because you always chase them away. Huh, did you say something? Uraraka asked again, with her fist up. No, it was nothing. Uraraka lowered her fist. Still though, I can't wait for Monday, said Izuku, with a smile on his face. If I get in, I'll make sure you get the best gear. That way you'll never lose a fight. Uraraka smiled. Thanks, I appreciate that. I don't plan on losing anyway. Come on, let's head home. The two then climbed back over the rocks and onto the main road. The two eventually came upon the split where they went their separate ways. Uraraka waved goodbye as she walked away. Izuku did the same. Once home he made it to his apartment and walked in. The sun was now set and that meant one thing. Grabbing his costume, Izuku put it on and climbed to the roof of his building. Now, let's see what's on the radio. Pressing a button near his ear he turned on the scanner. Units be advised, suspects are fleeing down Bunka Street in a red-colored vehicle. Suspects are currently using their quirks. A police chase, this should be fun. Jumping off the roof, Izuku swung towards the city and towards the criminals. A couple of minutes later Izuku was now in the city, swinging from building to building. He followed the red and blue and was moving towards the front. Looking down he noticed that 3 people were hanging out of the car, once in each window except the driver. The 2 on the back seats had quirks that controlled water. The one in the front passenger side looked like he was able to shoot some sort of red beam from his finger. From above he watched as the 2 in the passenger seats used their quirks to rip the water pipes from the ground. The lead car sped forward, but as they passed over the pipe the other brother shot their fingers up, causing the water inside the pipes outward. The cop cars chasing them slammed into the pipes, taking them out of the pursuit. All right, that's how you do it, the driver said, as the 2 in the back high-fived each other. Let's get the hell out of here before the heroes show up. But as they celebrated they suddenly heard a knocking for the front passenger side window. All 3 turned to find Izuku waving at them. Can you guys give me a lift? I'm really late for a meeting, so if you can drop me off at the train station then I would greatly appreciate it. The villains looked on in disbelief. Shit, it's the bug. Kill him, the driver yelled. The 2 in the back quickly used their quirks and shattered the window from the inside. Izuku quickly dodged and landed on the roof of the car. It's Arachnid. Man, why do the criminals never get it right? As Izuku rode on top his eyes suddenly went wide. Weaving to the right he narrowly missed getting hit by the driver's red beam. Whoa, watch where you point that. But as Izuku was distracted a pillar of water in the shape of a fist came flying at him. He jumped to avoid it but the fist suddenly grew in size. Izuku was hit by the water and thrown off the roof of the car. Bouncing off the floor and rolling, he quickly outstretched his arm and fired a web at the car. The web stuck itself to the back bumper which caused Izuku to be dragged along. The villains saw this and nodded at each other. Using their quirks they caused the manholes on the street to fly up, spraying water everywhere. Seeing this Izuku webbed one of the covers and positioned it underneath his feet and used it like a skateboard. With sparks coming out from the back Izuku maneuvered around by pulling on the web, narrowly dodging cars and other vehicles. Hey, this is actually pretty cool. Guys, speed up. Angry, the driver suddenly stepped on the brake causing the car to suddenly slow and Izuku to crash into him. Uh-oh. Thinking fast Izuku jumped with the cover still on his feet, letting the web go as a result. Now in the air Izuku watched as the car once again sped away. Oh hell no. Bending down and grabbing the cover from his feet, Izuku landed on a lamp post and jumped. Now far above he threw the cover towards the car. Did we lose him? The driver asked. The 2 in the back looked out the window. I don't see him. I think we lost him. But as they were saying that, the cover slammed into the hood of the car on the flat side. The speed and weight of the cover forced the car to come to an instant stop. Unfortunately those inside kept going. Slamming into the windshield the driver was thrown out of the car. The car itself flipped into the air causing those in the back to fly out the side windows. The villain screamed as he looked to hit the pavement, Fortunately Izuku fired off a web and caught the men in a massive spider's web. But that wasn't the end of it, the car was heading towards a crowd of people on the sidewalk. Swinging down, Izuku jumped in front of the path of the car and caught it. Leaning back as he caught it, Izuku made sure not to break the car since the resulting pieces could hit the people behind him. He grunted a bit, but after a second he placed the car down with little effort. "Everyone safe?" he asked, looking back at the people, who all nodded. "Good. Now stuck." The driver tried to use his quirk, but just before he could, Izuku webbed his wrists and legs up. "Look like I caught the bad guy. What do I win? Why, you little, when I get out of this I'm going to." Izuku heard enough and webbed the villain's mouth shut. Language. "Oh, I should probably check on the others." Izuku quickly jumped towards the car and looked inside. He found the two villains groaning and dazed. "Ah, you weren't wearing your seatbelts." "Don't worry, the medics will get here soon." That's when several cops and ambulances arrived. "There they are. Listen, I gotta go, but try not commit any more crimes, alright? Bye." Landing on a rooftop, Izuku took a break. Man, what a way to start the night. He suddenly felt his phone vibrate. It was a text from Uraraka. "You up? I'm having trouble sleeping." Izuku replied back, "Thinking about the exam on Monday. If you are, don't worry about it, you're smart, tough, and strong. That's basically all you need to be a hero. Trust me, you got this." On the other side, Uraraka smiled as she laid in bed. "Thanks, Midoriya." Izuku also smiled. "If you get in, I'll buy you that mochi you always wanted to try." "Really? The expensive one?" Uraraka answered back. "Yes, the expensive one. But only if you get in." "Deal," Izuku said as he walked upside down from a panel. "Deal. Alright, I think I can sleep now. Good night, Midoriya." With that, Izuku put away his phone. That girl, what am I going to do with her? But as he did, his eyes widened, indicating danger. "You're a hard person to find, boy," a voice said behind him. Izuku turned to find a man who was made of mist and wore a suit. "Approach. Who are you?" The man stopped a few meters away. "My apologies, the name is Kurogiri. And we've been following your movements." "We? Who's we?" Izuku asked. "We as in the League of Villains. And we wish to recruit you," Kurogiri said, much to Izuku's surprise. You do know I'm not a villain, right? I help people." Kurogiri laughed. "What's so funny?" "The fact that you think you're not a villain, that's what. While it is true that you help people, you are nothing more than a criminal in the eyes of the heroes. Even some of the public are calling for your arrest," Kurogiri said, stepping forward. "Are those people really worth your trouble? What is this? Do you want me to join your little fan club?" Izuku asked. "As a matter of fact, yes. And I can make it worth your while." Kurogiri opened two portals in front of him. Reaching in, he pulled out two suitcases. "I believe this will be more than enough to convince you." Placing the cases on the ground, Kurogiri opened them, revealing them full of cash. 100 million yen, yours if you accept to work with us." "Is that real?" Izuku asked, walking towards the money. "Very real," Kurogiri said, smiling. "I hear you younger generation is fond of money. So what do you say? Do we have a deal?" "I could definitely use the money," Izuku sighed. "I would dumb if I let this chance pass though." It looked like the money was working, but much to Kurogiri's surprise, he was suddenly webbed up. "What? Sorry, but I've heard of your little club and you've been causing nothing but problems," said Izuku. "Tell whoever your boss is that I won't let you get away with it." "You are making a grave mistake, pretender," Kurogiri warned. "My mistake was even giving you the time of day. Now stay there while I call someone to pick you up." Izuku then turned his back on the villain and was about to call someone. But as he was, Kurogiri opened up another portal. "Shigaraki said to kill you if you refused. So this will be the perfect time to test out our Nomu." A loud roar was heard coming from the portal. Izuku turned. "Hey, keep it down, I'm trying to call," but as he was speaking, a massive fist hit him in the face, sending him flying back several feet. Hitting the wall, Izuku grunted in pain. "I didn't even sense that punch coming." He looked up to see a massive monster. It was tall, had dark skin with scars all over its body, and a face like a bird. It also had its brain exposed. "What the hell is that?" "Meet Nomu. We just created it," so we were hoping you'd test it out for us. Kurogiri said. Nomu, kill him would you? Once again the beast let out a roar before running at Izuku. It was fast, but this time he wouldn't be caught off guard. Leaping over it, Izuku landed on its back. Steady now, let's see if you can throw me off. The Nomu began to thrash around trying to shake Izuku off. It also tried to grab him, but the boy crawled across its back like a spider. Growing frustrated, the beast turned its back to a wall and slammed its back against it. Izuku was squished between the Nomu and the wall. Letting out a painful yell, Izuku was once again slammed into the wall, with pieces of the wall breaking off. Izuku knew he had to do something. Looking forward, he noticed several AC units on the roof. As the Nomu went to slam him again, Izuku quickly jumped over it and landed on his feet. Here, freshen up a bit. With one hand he webbed the AC unit before pulling on the web. Ripping it out of the roof, he swung it towards the Nomu. It crashed into the beast's head but had no effect. Okay, then how about this? Webbing two separate parts of the wall next to the Nomu, Izuku created a slingshot. Pulling on it hard, Izuku created tension on the webs. With enough build-up, he launched himself at the Nomu. Punching it, Izuku forced the beast through the wall. The two then crash into the warehouse. Fortunately no one was inside. Izuku rolled to a stop, but before he could even get up, the Nomu grabbed him, lifted him up, and threw him against the ground. The impact broke the floor and caused Izuku to bounce off it like a ball. But the Nomu wasn't finished yet. Grabbing him out of the air, the Nomu then spun him around and tossed Izuku into several metal shelves. Laying on the debris, Izuku's costume was ripped from the side. Okay, that hurt. He slowly began to sit up. I punched it through a wall. How the hell is it unaffected? Another roar was heard as the Nomu came down towards him. Dodging back, Izuku then attached a web to its body before using it to close the distance. Now in close, Izuku clenched his fist and delivered a powerful blow to its head. Got it, is what Izuku thought. Unfortunately for him, that was not the case. Izuku's danger sense kicked in, but he didn't even have time to react when the Nomu's fist connected to the side of the boy's ribs. Crunching noises could be heard as Izuku's body was sent flying. Landing across the warehouse, Izuku rolled to a stop. Getting on all fours, he grabbed at his side. Okay, I can't beat this thing. And if I continue to fight it, the fight might spill onto the streets. I have no choice. Running through several shelves, the Nomu approached Izuku, but before it could do anything, web hit its face, which covered its eyes. The Nomu stopped in place, now blinded. Taking this chance, Izuku decided to flee. Swinging out, he managed to escape. What the hell was that thing? He asked himself as he headed back home. Back in the warehouse, the Nomu finally managed to rip the webbing off. That's enough, Nomu, he's gone, Kurogiri said, appearing beside it. I failed to kill him, but the information gathered during this fight more than makes up for it. I shall report back to Shigaraki and the master. Soon we shall show all of Japan what we can do, and why it should fear us. Izuku's apartment. Making it back home, Izuku snuck in and immediately collapsed onto the floor holding his ribs. Damn it, I think he broke a few ribs. Picking himself up, he managed to get on his bed and lay down. I'm just going to rest for a bit. Falling asleep, Izuku wouldn't wake up until the afternoon. And the only reason why he did was because someone was knocking on his door. I'm up, he said, still wearing his costume. Izuku walked towards the door and pressed the intercom. Yeah. It's about time you answered. I forgot my key, so I couldn't let myself in. It was Uraraka. Did you just wake up? Izuku yawned. No, of course not. Why are you here anyway? I thought you'd be busy studying. That's exactly why I'm here. Let me in, Uraraka said. Izuku reached for the door handle but stopped when he noticed he was still wearing his costume. Give me a second, I need to put on some clothes. Jumping away, Izuku quickly ran into his room, took off his costume, rolled it up and hid it in the air vent. Grabbing a shirt and shorts, he quickly put them on and went towards the door. He opened it. Sorry about that. What's this about studying? Uraraka sighed as she walked inside. I came here so you can help me study for the entrance exams, considering you're top in our class. Wait, why? I wanted to enjoy my weekend before the exam. Izuku said, slightly pouting. If you help me study I'll make you some katsudon. Immediately Izuku's attitude changed. You should have started with that, he said, smiling. Alright, let's get started. After a couple of hours the two decided to take a break. It was already late so it was about time to eat. Both of them went to prepare the food. As background noise Izuku turned on the TV. Hey, you're going to burn it, Uraraka warned. I'm not, Izuku responded. I know how to cook. Uraraka rolled her eyes. Here, let me do it. She then playfully bumped his side but even that was enough to cause Izuku to wince in pain. What the, are you hurt? And no, I'm fine. I bumped into the desk last night, Izuku said, smiling. But Uraraka wasn't convinced. Without saying a word she lifted up his shirt. Her eyes widened as she saw a massive bruise around his ribs. This looks like more than a simple bump. Izuku quickly pulled down his shirt. It's nothing. You have other cuts too, what happened? Did you get into another fight? She then looked at Izuku who refused to look at her. You don't want to tell me. Fine, then at least let me patch you up. Izuku sighed but agreed, okay. Making their way to the sofa Izuku took off his shirt while Uraraka went to grab the med kit. With his back turned to her Uraraka began to apply treatment. It's the same as before, when you used to get picked on by the others. You know if you're in trouble you can always talk to me. You know that right? I know, he answered. I just didn't want to trouble you. Midoriya, we've known each other since we were kids. You are always going to be trouble, and I'm going to be yours. But that doesn't mean I don't care. Uraraka then grabbed some bandage wrap. After what happened to your mom, I don't want it happening to you too. It then dawned on her what she said. Sorry, I shouldn't have brought it up. No, it's all right, he said, his voice low. It's my own fault anyway. About a year ago, it was during his final year of middle school, he had already had his powers for over a year but mainly focused on small crimes. It was the morning of the incident and Izuku was still asleep. Izuku, breakfast is ready, hurry up and get changed. Inko yelled out from downstairs. Just then there was a knock at the door. Oh, that must be her. Inko opened the door. Ah, Uraraka, at least one of you is already ready. He's still asleep, Uraraka questioned. If he doesn't hurry up we'll be late. I already called him, but he still hasn't answered. Inko sighed. Sometimes I worry about that boy. He's just such a handful sometimes. Inko then smiled. Thanks for looking out for him. It's nothing, really, Uraraka responded. Besides, I like spending time with him. I bet you do. So, has there been any progress? Asked Inko. Uraraka blushed. And no, still the same. Oh, what a shame. You two would look cute together. But, I'll only let you have him on one condition. Uraraka raised an eyebrow. That you always take care of him. Can you promise me that? That shouldn't be a problem, I promise you Inko, she said, with confidence. Good. Just then Izuku came running down the hall. Ah, there he is. Sorry, I overslept again, he said, rushing to the table and eating. Did you already eat Uraraka? Inko asked. The girl nodded. Yeah, don't worry about me. Thanks for the food mom. He quickly placed his dishes in the sink and ran towards her door. Love you mom, I'll be back soon. Careful out there you two. Inko warned as she saw the two leave. On the street Izuku and Uraraka walked side by side. You woke up late again. Uraraka said firmly. Stayed up late playing games. Yeah, I was playing some video games and lost track of time. Izuku explained, but secretly he spent most of the night out in the city. You should be more careful, one day we'll be late. But Izuku waved her off. We'll be fine. We've never been late before, and I don't plan on starting now. He motioned with his head. Come on, let's go. The two went to school as normal and everything was the same until it was time to leave. Izuku was waiting outside the school for Uraraka. She eventually showed up and they decided to go to a nearby arcade before heading home. As they walked towards the arcade, Izuku's phone went off. Hey mom, what's up? Are you already on the way home sweetie? I need you to pick up some items for me, Inko said through the phone. Oh sure, but Uraraka invited me to the arcade. Can I pick it up after? Izuku questioned. Sorry, but no, I need the stuff soon. Ah, just forget about it, I'll grab the stuff myself. You two enjoy. Are you sure? I can still grab the stuff if you need me to, Izuku said, feeling a bit guilty. I'm sure Uraraka doesn't mind, we can always go tomorrow. Don't worry about us, Inko, we can get the things you need. Uraraka yelled. No, that's fine. You two have fun and I'll see you at dinner time. I'll talk to you soon, Izuku, bye. With that, Inko hung up the phone. Well, it looks like she has it covered, Uraraka said. Still want to go? Hell yeah, I can't wait to beat you in DDR. With that, the two went over to the arcade. They played, laughed, and enjoyed themselves. After an hour or two, Izuku checked the time and noticed it was almost dinner time. We should start heading out, Izuku suggested. Ah, but we're having so much fun. Next time I'll beat you. Uraraka had lost all of the times they faced each other. As they walked out, she noticed a claw machine with little Kirby plushies. She stopped and admired them. They're so cute. They kind of look like you, Izuku said playfully. Want one? Uraraka looked at Izuku and nodded. Please. Taking out a coin, he inserted it into the machine. With 3 quick movements, Izuku pressed the button that lowered the claw. The 3 prongs wrapped themselves around the plush, and with some luck it had enough grip. Uraraka smiled as the plush dropped. Izuku reached under and grabbed the plush. Here. Taking the plush, Uraraka hugged it. Thank you. I love it. Don't mention it. Come on, let's head back. With that, the two now left the arcade. As they walked, they talked about movies and video games, but as they did, they were suddenly interrupted by people running. What's going on? Izuku asked as they stepped aside. His question, however, would be answered when a massive sludge villain appeared. It ran down the main street with what appeared to be money flying out. Whoa, that's one huge villain, Uraraka commented. I'm sure the heroes will take care of him. Yeah, I sure hope so, said Izuku. Come on, let's go the long way home and avoid all this. Unfortunately, they would be unable to, as the sludge villain suddenly reappeared and came towards them. Flipping cars in front of it, it caused destruction and mayhem. Run, Uraraka yelled. Turning, the two ran back towards where they came from as cars, buses, and broken pieces of building flew into the air. The debris came crashing down around the people trying to run away. As Izuku ran, his danger sense suddenly went haywire. He turned to find a car heading right towards them. Look out! Pushing Uraraka out of the way. The car came slamming down where Izuku was, much to Uraraka's horror. Izuku! She cried out but couldn't stop to check on him as the wave of people prevented her from stopping. Man, that was a close one, Izuku said, sitting on the floor just inches from being crushed by the car. But now seems like a good time for a friendly neighborhood hero. Running into the alleyway, Izuku quickly removed his shirt, showing off the spider symbol on his suit. Uraraka was worried about Izuku. She wanted to go back and see if he was okay, but every time she tried to turn and run back, the crowd pushed her. Uraraka, someone called out to her. The girl turned to find Inko. Inko. Pushing her way through, she managed to reach her. What are you doing here? I was picking up something I forgot from the store, Inko explained. Are you all right? Are you hurt? Uraraka shook her head. No, I'm fine. Good. She then looked around. Where's Izuku? A worried look fell over the girl's face. Uraraka, where is Izuku? Where is my son? But before Uraraka could answer her, the sludge villain appeared. Towering over them, it looked down. Out of my way. It then created a massive hand that looked to crush the two. Inko instinctively shielded Uraraka with her body, but just as they were going to get crushed, a thwip sound was heard. Swinging in at the last second, Izuku, now wearing his costume, grabbed the both of them and got them out of harm's way. You two need to evacuate with everyone else, Izuku said, his mask distorting his voice a bit. Spider-Man, you need to go and save Midoriya, Uraraka said, grabbing onto Izuku's costume. He pushed me out of the way to save me. He could be hurt. He is a boy about my age. Izuku nodded. I'll go check if he's fine, but you two need to leave. Go. With that, Izuku swung away. But as he did, Inko took off towards the fight. Inko. Where are you going? To find my son, she yelled. With the sludge villain, throwing cars and buses with ease, the villain rampaged through the street. I told you all to leave me alone. Hey slime man, you mind stopping this rampage? Izuku asked as he stuck to the side of a building. The villain turned to find Izuku. Spider. Reaching down, the villain grabbed a car and flung it at Izuku. Thinking fast, Izuku webbed away as the car crashed into the side of the building. Hey, now who's going to replace that? I hope you have good insurance. Izuku quipped, as he landed onto the ground. But as he did, the villain managed to reach out and grabbed Izuku. I heard about you, Spider. The villain said, lifting him off the ground. Izuku tried to break free. What, that I'm devilishly handsome? Charming, charismatic, annoying. The villain said. Oh, well that's. Izuku said as he felt his body being crushed. I'm all for hugging, but think you can loosen up a bit. Sure, once all of your bones are crushed. The villain said with a smile. Pressing harder on him, Izuku let out a grunt. Alright, I've had my fun. With his wrist still exposed, Izuku managed to shoot his web onto a broken piece of building and yanked it. The piece went flying towards the villain, but was aimed for the sludge holding him. The piece of building sliced the arms off the villain, causing them to drop Izuku. Now covered in sludge, Izuku jumped towards the villain with high fist pulled back. But as he connected his punches, they all seeped into the villains, doing no damage. The villain saw this and tried to grab Izuku again, but this time he was fast enough to dodge. While trying to swing away, the spider needed to come up with a plan. If I had ice powers, I could have frozen him in place. And his body is too soft to hit. Izuku then looked down towards the street. That should do the trick. Swinging down, Izuku landed right next to a fire hydrant. He grabbed the top, he ripped it off and tossed it aside. You look thirsty, how about a drink? Using his foot, Izuku redirected the water. The force of the water managed to push the villain back and onto the side of a building. Gah, stop that, the villain tried out. Sorry man, but if I do that you'll just get away again, said Izuku as he continued to spray the villain down. Now annoyed, the sludge villain grew angry, and in a fit of rage or desperation, he slammed his massive fist onto the ground, causing it to break. With some pieces in mid-air, the villain used those pieces as projectiles and launched them at Izuku. He tried to jump away, but the area of effect was too wide and some pieces hit him while others cut his costume. But as he was in mid-air, the villain's fist came slamming into him, sending Izuku through a wall and into a building. I told you to stay out of my way. Izuku grabbed his shoulder. Damn it, I got careless. The vigilante began to think of ways he could take the villain down, but as he did, someone yelled out, Izuku. Where are you? Both fighters turned to see Inko running towards them, frantically looking for her son. What is she doing here? Hey, it's not safe here. Izuku yelled out. That's when the sludge villain got an idea. I've heard you put others before yourself. Moving fast, the villain got behind Inko and grabbed her. Let her go, Izuku yelled as he swung to save her. That's when the villain began to crush Inko, causing her to scream in pain. Get any closer and her life is over. Landing back on the ground, Izuku grit his teeth. Much better. Now catch. The villain then threw Inko behind him. No, Izuku yelled as he swung into the air, only to be smacked back down onto the concrete. You're staying right there, you damn bug, the villain said, covering Izuku in sludge. Izuku extended out his hand. I have to save her. Shooting some web, he made a small hammock just in the nick of time. Inko landed on it and stuck to the web. Izuku breathed a sigh of relief as his mother was now out of harm's way. Good, I made it in time. Unfortunately, his relief was soon replaced with surprise as his body was lifted higher into the air and thrown. Heading straight to a building, Izuku managed to twist his body and land feet first onto the concrete wall. Hey, are you all right? Izuku asked, looking down towards Inko as he was thrown in her direction. Inko was getting off the web. I'm fine, but I need to find my son. I'm sure he's fine, but you need to go. Izuku jumped down. Here, let's get you out of here. He tried to help Inko out, but she refused. Listen, I'm not leaving. What kind of mother would I be if I let my son alone out here? And what kind of hero are you that won't help me? Now either shut up and help me, or hurry but that's when Inko noticed. Look out! Inko suddenly jumped towards and pushed Izuku just as his danger sense went off. But by then it was too late. Izuku watched as his own mother was impaled through the chest by the spikes meant for him. Damn, I missed, said the sludge villain as he pulled out his tendrils. Inko's body flopped forward and down towards the ground. No 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 no. Without missing a second, Izuku grabbed Inko and swung away towards the nearest hospital. From the ground Uraraka watched as Inko was taken away. No. Come on, you're going to be alright, ma'am, he said, panic in his voice. You're going to be alright, you hear me? Come on, stay with me. Put me down, Inko said, her voice wavering. No, we're almost there, Izuku answered, swinging from building to building. Blood stained Izuku's green costume as he frantically swung through the city. Please, Izuku. Hearing his name being called caused Izuku to land on a nearby roof and gently place her down. Blood was still pouring out of the wounds, you knew? Izuku asked, holding his mother's hand. Inko winced in pain. Of course I knew, you idiot. Now let me see your face. Izuku removed his mask. Why you arrived one day really late and fell asleep in costume, said Inko, smiling. I didn't want to believe it and I was angry that you would do something so reckless. But, I also knew that's what you always wanted to do, you always wanted to be a hero. You've saved hundreds of people, and I couldn't be more proud. Tears began to swell up in Izuku's eyes. What kind of hero lies to his mom and lets this happen? The kind that has things they need to protect. Izuku could feel her warmth fade away. And this isn't your fault, Izuku. I can still get you to the hospital, they can fix you. But Inko shook her head. No hospital. It will only mean problems for you. Izuku let out a deep breath. Uraraka, protect her. She cares a lot about you. Don't let her be unhappy. Don't go, mom. I still need you, Izuku said, tears falling. Please don't go. With her other hand Inko reached out and touched Izuku's face. Oh my beautiful son, you've grown to be an amazing man, with a huge heart, and a wonderful personality. I know you'll have some bad days but you'll also have good ones. You were given these powers for a reason, Izuku. Make sure to use them for good, don't let it get to your head either. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Always remember that. I love you, Izuku. Inko's hand suddenly fell as she closed her eyes for the final time. Mom, come on mom, wake up, please. Please wake up. He began to gently shake her. Wake up mom, please don't go. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Izuku held his mother's lifeless body for several minutes. Afterwards, he put his mask back on and took out his phone. Calling the police he told them where they could find her, before swinging back towards the sludge villain, ready to kill him. Unfortunately by the time he got there it was over. All Might, the #1 hero, had defeated the sludge villain and trapped him in a bottle. That wouldn't be enough. Landing in front of All Might he startled the hero. Spider-Man, what are you? That's when the hero noticed the blood on his costume. Are you hurt? There's so much blood. Is that him? Izuku asked. The sludge villain, is that him? All Might nodded. Indeed. I managed to secure this one before he did any real damage. Without saying anything else Izuku fired a web and snatched the bottle from All Might. He's mine. Taking the bottle Izuku then leapt into the air and swung away, leaving All Might surprised. What the hell? Making his way to the top of the tallest building, which was about 1,000 feet in the air. What are you doing? The villain asked. You know where we are? Izuku asked. Atop a building, about 1,000 feet in the air. To reach terminal velocity you have to be 1,500 feet or 400 meters above the ground, and reach a speed of 120 miles per hour or 200 kilometers per hour. We aren't high enough for that, but if I throw you hard enough you should be able to reach those speeds and more. A normal body would shatter on impact on the ground. But with yours, I wonder what would happen. Would you survive? Would you splatter onto the ground and splash everywhere? Either way, I hope you die. I hope you feel everything as you slowly die as nothing more than a stain on the ground. Fear began to fill the villain's eyes. Why you can't do this, you're a hero aren't you? Izuku raised the bottle, not right now. Flexing his arm, Izuku was just about to throw the villain, but just as he was, All Might arrived. Spider-Man, wait. Izuku stopped. Don't do this. I know he's done some terrible things, but he doesn't deserve death. The vigilante slowly turned to the hero. He killed a woman. She died in my arms as she asked if her son was safe. If he doesn't deserve death, then what does he deserve? Justice. All Might replied. What you are about to do is not that, it's vengeance. You save people, don't you? Even though heroes hunt you, you still save people. If you do this, you'll be just as bad as he is. Is that what you want? Izuku closed his eyes and sighed. All Might took this as a sign. Good, now hand him over to me, and we can pretend that this never happened. But Izuku didn't do that. Instead, he quickly clenched the bottle and threw it down with every he had. No! All Might yelled as he dove down after it. Izuku stood on the roof and watched. The villain screamed inside the bottle as he approached the ground. Fortunately for him, All Might managed to swoop in and catch him right before hitting the floor. The hero then looked up at the building and noticed that Izuku was gone. Did he try to kill this villain? But he's never done anything like that before. Finding an alley near the accident, he quickly changed out of his blood-stained costume. Izuku then began to walk down the street, his mind filled with nothing but sadness. As he walked, he saw someone. It was Uraraka. Uraraka immediately went to hug him. I'm sorry, Izuku. I'm so sorry. Back in the present, after finishing their meal, the two sat down on the sofa. Uraraka laid her head on Izuku's lap. Now this is my spot. This reminds me of when we were little, Izuku said, smiling. We used to watch so many movies together. Yeah, those were the good old days. Uraraka sighed. But now we have to focus on getting into UA. We'll be fine, Izuku said, playfully ruffling Uraraka's hair. Don't worry so much. Easy for you to say, you're smart enough to get into the support department. While I, on the other hand, have to deal with others with much stronger quirks. Uraraka looked at her fingers, showing that they had little pads on them. Izuku then ran his fingers in hers. It's not the type of quirk or how strong it is that matters. It's how you use what you have that matters. I sure hope you're right. Uraraka then sat up. Well, let's get some rest. We have a big day coming up. Exam day. Izuku and Uraraka were both standing at the gates of UA. Are you ready for this? Izuku asked. Uraraka nodded. Ready as I'll ever be. We should probably head inside and check in. Let's go then. Walking in the two parted ways, Izuku went towards the support department exam area, while Uraraka the hero section. Waiting in line, Izuku took this chance to relax. Taking a deep breath, he began to focus. Come on, Izuku, you can do it. Mom's watching from above, you've got to make her proud. With a serious expression on his face, Izuku walked into the testing area, ready for what was to come. The exam for Izuku consisted of two parts. One was a basic engineering test, while the other a practicum. The practicum was simple: build a device. The catch was you wouldn't know what the device was intended to be until you picked a slip. The exam was easy for Izuku. He was smart, so that wasn't what worried him. What did was the practicum. After blowing past the written exam, Izuku was then taken to a workshop, where he saw several instructors supervising the exam. All right, kid, this is the final part. See that bowl over there? Grab a slip, show us what it is, and start building. You'll have 1 hour to complete this exam. Once it's over, you'll be graded on durability, practicality, and overall completion. You'll have everything you'll need available to you. Anything else you can look for in the storage area. Any questions? No, pretty straightforward. Izuku answered. All right, then your time starts when you draw your slip. Izuku then walked over to the bowl and grabbed a piece of paper. He opened it up and showed the instructions: device to help heroes scale tall buildings. All right, go. Nodding, Izuku went straight to work, but as he thought of what he could, he found it ironic that he needed to build something he could do already. He could make his web shooters, but that would basically give his identity away. Instead, he went for a more classic approach: gloves. It took 45 minutes to build the necessary component, and another 10 to code everything needed. By the end of it, Izuku had 2 gloves, each with a sort of panel that turns the gloves on and off. Alright Midoriya, walk us through it. Well, I call these geckos. They are gloves that use electrostatic forces to change the polarity of the object they touch. Izuku explained. They are powered by 2 magnets placed on the forearms. They are also reinforced with a special Kevlar that makes them resistant to rips and knife attacks. The graders all looked at the gloves, one put them on to test. Reaching over, he turned them on and placed his hand on the wall. He tried removing it and felt some resistance. Fascinating. How did you make it so it wouldn't attract random items? There is a sensor near the fingertips that help in controlling that function. Izuku explained. It can also work on glass. The panel all talked with each other and began to write down those scores. Midoriya was it. You have a bright future. Take your invention. You will receive notice if you pass in a few weeks. With that, Izuku grabbed his invention and walked out of the exam area. Once outside, he breathed a sigh of relief. Man, that was stressful. But I should be fine. They looked impressed. I wonder how Uraraka did. He then felt his phone began to vibrate. Oh, speak of the devil. He answered, Hey Uraraka, you finished with the exam. But it wasn't Uraraka's voice that answered. Is this Izuku Midoriya? Yeah, who is this, and why do you have Uraraka's phone? Izuku asked, confused as to what was going on. The name is Recovery Girl and I work as a nurse here at UA. If you could come visit us in the health building, there has been an accident with one Ochako Uraraka. Izuku's eyes widened. I'll be right there. Hanging up, Izuku quickly ran towards the health building. It was easy to find thanks to the signs posted up. Going inside, he was escorted to one of the offices. There he found Uraraka sitting on the edge of the bed talking to an older woman who had a needle-shaped walking cane. Uraraka. The girl turned and saw Izuku. Oh hey Midoriya. He walked over and noticed her ankle was taped up. What happened? Are you okay? Does anything hurt? Izuku began to ask question after question in rapid succession. This was a common occurrence when he got nervous or worried. Fortunately, the older woman stopped him by smacking him with her cane. Hey relax kid, she isn't dying. Izuku rubbed his arm. First off, OWW. Second, what happened? There was an accident with one of the robots we used for a practical exam. The old woman explained. She broke her ankle trying to get others out of harm's way. Fortunately, no one else was hurt. It's all kind of embarrassing, Uraraka added. Damn, that'll take a couple of weeks to heal. Izuku said, we'll need some crutches too. Don't worry about any of that. I already healed her, for the most part. The woman explained. That's when Izuku got a good look at her. Oh I know you, you're Recovery Girl right? You can heal anyone by kissing them. The one and only, Recovery Girl said. As I was saying, I already healed her ankle, but not fully. My quirk uses the body's natural healing process to accelerate healing. If I used it completely, you wouldn't have been able to move. I healed you enough where you can walk, but it'll feel like a sprained ankle. You'll be fine with some rest. But I recommend staying off that leg as much as you can. Uraraka nodded. Thanks, Recovery Girl. So can I go? The hero nodded. Here, take this crutch. With the crutch in hand, Uraraka and Izuku both walked out. Man, to think you'd get injured already. Shut up. It was an accident, so not my fault. She said, proudly. Plus, maybe they'll give me extra points. Izuku shrugged. So how'd it go with the support class exam? Easy. We had to build a device from a random pool. I aced it, Izuku said with a bit of smugness. What did you guys have to do? Beat robots. Uraraka explained. Each robot had a different point value, so the more you destroy the more you build up. More points the better. I see, it's a good way to show off your quirk. Izuku then wondered, but relying on quirk strength alone won't cut it. Maybe there are other ways you can earn points. Doing heroic acts maybe. Uraraka shrugged. If that's the case, then I think I definitely passed. I hurt my leg trying to help someone trapped under some debris. Doing crazy stunts just to get points. Typical. The two then got on the train to go home. On the way they talked about what happened and what they would do if they got in. Arriving at the station they got off, Uraraka fumbled around with her crutches and found them hard to use. On more than one occasion she almost tripped, so Izuku got an idea. Resting on a bench, Izuku turned around and squatted down. "Get on, I'll carry you." Uraraka blushed. "We're not kids anymore, Midoriya, that's embarrassing." "Would you rather walk on a messed up leg?" Izuku retorted. Uraraka sighed. "Fine, but walk fast." Giving up, Uraraka jumped onto Izuku's back. As they walked, people passed by them and smiled. "Oh God, they're talking about us," Uraraka said, trying to hide her face. "Forget about them." Izuku laughed. "This reminds me of when I hurt my leg falling off that tree. Remember that?" Uraraka smiled. "Oh yeah, I had to use my quirk on you to carry you home. Inko was mad at me for dragging you along. I mean, but can you blame me? You were so small and adorable back then. What happened?" "Okay, rude. Second of all, I'm still adorable. Third, I'm taller than you now, so Izuku said. "Well, you're not wrong, I was tiny back then. Maybe I still am." Uraraka, thanks to being on his back, could feel his back muscles. "I can assure you that's not the case anymore," she said, her voice low as to not let Izuku hear. "What was that?" Izuku asked. Nothing," Uraraka said, blushing. "Anyway, when will you hear back from UA?" "I think they said a week or two. Probably close to when you do," Izuku said. "Waiting is the worst part. That and opening the letter. All that studying, all that training we did, it won't mean anything if we fail," Uraraka said, scared of what was to come. "Don't say that. We got to think positively," Izuku said. He then went quiet. "Thank you, Uraraka." The girl raised an eyebrow. "For what? You're the one carrying me right now." "Not for this is, for everything. I've been thinking about the past these last few days and well, I've never really thanked you for all you've done for me," said Izuku. "I know I can be annoying sometimes, even so, you stuck by me. You've done so much, even after everything that's happened. So thank you." Uraraka ruffled Izuku's hair. "What brought this on all of a sudden? You know I'm sticking to you no matter what." "Thanks, Uraraka, it really means a lot." After a few more minutes the two made it to Uraraka's apartment. Izuku set her down and looked for some ice for the swelling. Once he applied it, he also found wrap and began to wrap her ankle. With that done he left and went back home. It was night time when he arrived. "All right, it's time for patrol." Changing into his suit, Izuku pulled down his mask and grabbed his web cartridges. With everything ready he opened the window and jumped out. Swinging into the night, Izuku would go on to stop small crimes like break-ins and attempted robbery. It was now well past 3 a.m. and he was starting to get hungry. Landing on the roof of a building he pulled out a sandwich that a store owner gave him. "Thanks for the food." Pulling up his mask, exposing his mouth, the boy began to munch on his meal. "What kind of sandwich is that?" someone asked behind Izuku. He turned to find Eraserhead. "Oh, it's you. Wait, it's you." Getting up quickly, Izuku shielded his sandwich. "You took one meal from me, you won't do it again." "Easy, I'm not here to fight today," Eraserhead said, lifting his hands. "Oh, then why are you here?" Izuku asked. "This is my area of patrol actually, so I'm just out on my rounds." Eraserhead then pointed beside Izuku. "Mind if I sit?" Izuku nodded. The hero then took a seat, his legs dangling over the building. He then looked to his right and saw Izuku still standing. "Relax, kid, I already told you I'm not here to fight. I believe you, but I'm good here. Don't want you taking my sandwich." Izuku then took a bite. "So, I heard UA had their entrance exams today. Any good heroes in the making?" "A few," Eraser answered. "Some are ready but others need some work. But no one with web powers showed up. And why would I? I like how things are now." He took another bite of his sandwich. "Besides, being a hero means revealing your face. Revealing your face puts a target on the ones you care the most. I guess in some ways you're right. But as you know, doing all this, what you're doing, is illegal." Izuku shrugged. "You're just putting yourself in danger, kid. You're young, heroes put their lives on the line and get hurt daily. I just don't want you getting hurt." "Don't worry about me, Eraser. I don't plan on dying anytime soon. Finishing his sandwich, Izuku pulled his mask back down. Anyway, I should head out already. You got this place covered, right? So I'll leave you to it. Eraser stood up. Sorry, but this ends tonight. I thought you said you weren't here to fight. Izuku said, raising an eyebrow. I'm not, he said, but they are. Izuku was then hit by a sound wave that sent his body flying across to the next rooftop. Rolling to a stop, he managed to get to his knees but heard only ringing in his ears. Nice work, Present Mike, said Eraser, landing on the rooftop. Don't let your guard down, kid is smart. Appearing from behind was a tall man wearing a speaker around his neck. Got it. I read some of the reports about him. Oh, you have friends, Eraser. I'm actually kind of surprised, said Izuku. But 2 heroes to take me in. A bit excessive, ain't it? But that's when a light pink mist surrounded Izuku. Actually, there's 3. And I'm sure you can handle it. Feeling light-headed, Izuku turned to find a woman with long black hair and a skin-tight white and black hero suit. Oh great, now midnight. Her quirk was able to put people to sleep. Sorry kid, but this is for your own good, said Aizawa as he wore a gas mask to protect himself. Closing his eyes, Izuku suddenly went limp and laid on the floor motionless. Seeing this, Midnight stopped her quirk and walked towards Izuku. So this is the infamous Spider-Man, huh? Looks like more of a teenager to me. All the more reason to make sure he doesn't do this again. Got the cuffs, Mike? Aizawa asked. I wonder what he looks like. Stopping in front of Izuku, Midnight bent over and reached for his mask. But just as she was about to lift it, Izuku grabbed her wrist. Are you trying to undress me? Such a naughty hero. Izuku, with his free hand, shot a web into Midnight's eyes, blinding her. The hero stepped back as she desperately tried to rip it off. Taking his chance, Izuku spun around and kicked the hero in the stomach, sending her flying towards a wall. Midnight slammed up against it, but before she fell, Izuku spun more webs and stuck her to the wall. Now you stay right there. Izuku's eyes then widened as he felt danger approaching. Jumping into the air, he narrowly avoided Mike's sound attack. You know, I was more of an alternative rock type of guy, Izuku said as she swung around, avoiding the blasts. Stay still, damn it, Present Mike yelled out in frustration. No, answered Izuku. While in mid-air, Izuku fired a web at Mike's leg. The hero looked down at it. Ah hell. Pulling on the web, Izuku dropped Mike. Izuku then flipped over him and fired a web, sticking him to the roof. You probably don't know this, but your quirk is quite shocking. No, nothing. Izuku sighed. Alright, I'll just let myself out. He fired a web and jumped into the air, but as he was in mid-air, Aizawa came in and forced him back down to earth. I thought you said you weren't here to fight, Izuku asked, rubbing his chest. Yeah, well, I changed my mind. This has to end, kid, you're going to get yourself killed. Aizawa then threw a punch, which Izuku easily dodged. Taking a step back, Izuku was dodging the hero's punches one after the other. I don't want to hurt you, Eraser, you can't hit me. The kid is right. I still don't know how he does it, but it's as if he could sense my attacks before they happen. Aizawa then lifted his leg and kicked Izuku. But the boy simply grabbed his foot just as it was going to hit his head. Come on, man, this is embarrassing. Throwing him back, Aizawa was then webbed up against an AC unit by the wrist. It'll dissolve eventually, said Izuku, landing on a nearby water tower. You do know that I'll just bring more heroes and we will catch you, said Aizawa, struggling against the web. Yeah, well, I can't stop you. But I would appreciate it if you left me alone. Izuku stood up. We can be friends. Not likely, I find you highly annoying, answered Aizawa. Izuku sighed. Yeah, I kind of figured. Anyway, he then jumped down. I'll see you around, hero. The vigilante was just about to leave when he sensed something. His body reacted on his own as a sound blast ripped his suit across the shoulder and hit the water tower. Webbing up Mike again, Izuku sighed. Man, you heroes don't give up. That's when the sound of metal creaking was heard. Izuku turned and found the water tower tipping over. Oh. He quickly ran over to the damaged side and put out his arms in an attempt to stop the tower from falling. His hands sunk into the metal beams as his legs cracked the roof he was on. Izuku was strong enough to hold it up, but the pressure this put on the building wouldn't be. The cracks around his feet began to widen. He tried to think of a way to hold it up. Maybe he could web it up, maybe he could push it up. But everything he thought of would end in the same way. But as he thought about another way, the roof under him gave way. A hole opened up underneath him, causing the vigilante to fall in the water tower along with him. Hitting the edge of the roof with the sudden change in weight, the entire tower began to lean and flip. It didn't take much for the tower to go falling towards the ground. "No!" yelled Aizawa as he could do nothing but watch. Down below, the stunned people looked up to see the tower come falling towards them. They tried to run, but it was falling too fast. That's when a window on the side of the building shattered and out flew Izuku. Landing on the tower, he crawled down and stood up. As he did, he fired webs that stuck themselves to the side of the road. He fired several of these webs, and once he was done, he attached them to the tower itself. He then jumped off and landed on the ground. If my calculations are right, then it should stop. He looked up to see the tower right in front of his face. Now, it sprung up and down multiple times before ultimately coming to a stop. "Nice. Is everyone all right?" he asked, looking back down. But all he got in response was the sound of guns clicking. "Freeze, Spider-Man, you're under arrest," one officer yelled, his gun pointed right at the boy. Izuku raised his hands. "Oh, come on. I just saved these people. I didn't even hurt the heroes who attacked me. Don't you dare move." "All right everyone, move in." The officers then began to move towards Izuku. "Why'd I even bother with you guys?" Izuku then moved his arm, but that's all one officer needed to fire his weapon. The bullet left the chamber of the gun and flew right towards Izuku. His danger sense went into full protection mode, his eyes widened and his body began to move on its own. He moved to the side just as the bullet missed him by an inch. The other officers, hearing the shot, fired their own weapons. Izuku was jumping back, all the while dodging the bullets flying towards him. Getting behind the water tower, Izuku quickly fired a web towards the building and swung away. Izuku thought it would be best if he just went home for the night. After all, now that the heroes were taking a more active role in trying to capture him, he thought it best to lay low for today. Making it back home, he quickly took off his costume and went to bed. A week went by. It was the weekend, so Izuku was lazing around on his couch. He was watching TV and was going to meet up with Uraraka later, but in the meantime he was taking it easy. That is until the doorbell rang. Getting up, Izuku walked over and opened the door. "Oh Uraraka, what's up?" "It's here," she yelled, pushing an envelope into his face. "OWW." He grabbed the envelope and read the sender. "UA, is this what I think it is?" Uraraka nodded. "Sure is. The results of the entrance exam. If mine is here, then that must mean." Izuku quickly ran back inside and grabbed the key to his mailbox. Running down to the first floor, he quickly opened the box and noticed a single letter. Grabbing it, he ran back upstairs. He grabbed Uraraka by the hand and had her sit down side by side at the kitchen table. "I am assuming yours is here too?" Uraraka questioned. "Yeah," he said, showing her the envelope. "So, who's going first?" "Same time," Uraraka suggested. "Deal." "Ready." Izuku took a deep breath. 3, 2, 1, open. The two then ripped their envelopes open. Izuku's contained a letter, while Uraraka's had a metal disc inside. Taking the disc, Uraraka pressed on it, which caused a projection of All Might himself to appear. Seeing this made Izuku's eyes twitch. He never wanted to see him again. "Is this thing on?" the projection asked. "Oh, it is. Well then, hello Ms. Uraraka. Thank you for taking UA's hero entrance exam. As you know, the exam consisted of 2 parts, a written and a practicum. Let's see how you did with the written part. Out of a possible score of 100, you managed to score 78. Not bad, but definitely room to improve. I told you to study more," said Izuku. Uraraka clenched her fist. "Shut up. Now let's move on to the practicum. As you know, this exam was done on a point basis. In the time you were allowed, you managed to rack up a total of 52 points, very impressive. Your skills in quirk combat are impressive. But that was not the only way of scoring points. Another way, of which we kept hidden, was by doing heroic acts, and let me just say, you did just that. For saving your classmate you earned an additional 50 points, bringing your total to 102. More than enough to grant you entrance to UA. So let me be the first to congratulate you and welcome you to UA. I hope to see your growth during your time here. With that the projection ended. Uraraka was stunned. I made it. She turned to Izuku. I made it right. Izuku smiled. Yeah, you did. Congrats. But as he was speaking, Uraraka suddenly wrapped him in a hug. This meant everything for Uraraka. She needed to become a hero in order to make sure her parents lived a comfortable life. They sacrificed everything to make sure she could get every opportunity, and now this was the first step in achieving that dream. Izuku returned the hug. You did great, Uraraka. After a few seconds she broke the hug. Thanks, Midoriya. Now, let's see what your letter says. Izuku grabbed the letter and began to read it out loud. Dear Mr. Midoriya, thank you for taking the support department entrance exam. Your invention was creative and fascinating to see, however, it did not meet our grading criteria. That is why at this time we regret to inform you that your application is denied. Uraraka's face turned white. And no way. There has to be some sort of mistake. Izuku hung his head. I'm so sorry, Midoriya. Yeah, I am too. A smile then formed on his face. Sorry that I tricked you. What? Uraraka said, confused. Of course I got in. See. He then showed her the paper, and there in big bold letters were the words congratulations. You tricked me, said Uraraka, punching him in the shoulder. I thought you didn't get in. Izuku laughed. Sorry. I couldn't help myself. The two talked about everything they would do at UA. To celebrate, Uraraka invited Izuku over to her apartment and had a mini party with her parents. Izuku didn't get to see them often, but they treated him nicely. After the celebration was over, Uraraka was walking Izuku halfway. Man, I can't believe this. We are both getting into UA, said Uraraka, looking up at the stars. Have you thought of a hero name yet? Izuku asked. Uraraka nodded. I have, but I'm not going to tell you, yet. Ah, why not? I want to know, Izuku said, saddened by the news. What if I said please? Still won't say. Uraraka turned to find Izuku almost in tears. And making that face won't make your case any better. Damn it. So when will you tell me? Izuku asked. Or are you going to keep that secret? For now, Uraraka smiled. A girl has to have a few secrets. I'll find out eventually, especially when I'm working on your gadgets and costumes, said Izuku. Yeah. So, are you going to visit Inko tomorrow to give her the news? Uraraka asked. Izuku nodded. Yeah, she would be freaking out right now. He sighed. I'll make sure to become the greatest hero gadget inventor ever. That way you can protect everyone and become the hero you always wanted to be. Uraraka smiled. Thanks, Midoriya, and I'll make sure to be the best hero there is to make sure you stay safe. Just don't do anything too dangerous. I still need you after all. That made Uraraka blush. I'll try to stay out of trouble. With that, Izuku and Uraraka parted ways. Making it back to his apartment, Izuku suited up and jumped back out of his apartment and went on his night patrol. It was a quiet night, so there wasn't much to do around the city. So calling it early, Izuku went straight to bed. The next morning he got up early and took the train to the cemetery. Walking up to his mother's grave, he noticed flowers on the ground in front of the headstone. Kneeling down, he saw that they were roses. He's still coming here. Is it out of guilt or pity? I don't care which, as long as I don't see him again. Hey Mom, I have some big news to share. I got in. I made it to UA's support department. Izuku smiled. I get to work with the best of the best. Once I graduate, I'll make the best gear for heroes. Oh, and guess what? Uraraka got into the hero program. She was so happy, and I was too. If everything works out for her, then that means her parents will finally get a break. Once I start making gadgets, I'll be really making a difference. I won't have to wear a mask, or run from the cops, I can just be me. He sighed. But for now, I guess I'll have to continue doing what I'm doing. Even if the heroes and cops hate me. The sound of police sirens were then heard. Guess I can never have a break. I'll come back before classes start. With that, Izuku turned around and ran after the sirens. There were people that needed help. Click click click, the sound of a pen echoed throughout a bedroom. Seeing at their desk writing was a girl with long black hair. Just then there was a knock at their door. "Come in." The door opened up revealing a butler wearing a suit. "Mr. Momo, your father is requesting your presence." This was Momo Yaoyorozu. She sighed. "Of course he is. I'll be right over." The butler closed the door. Momo stood up, and dropped her pen onto the desk. Quickly changing, the girl walked out of the room and into a long hallway. She walked for a bit before turning to arrive at a double door. Closing her eyes she knocked. "Come in," a voice said. Walking inside, the room was a study, with the walls having shelves of books and the end near a large glass window was a deal with a man sitting behind it. Momo walked in and stopped in front of the desk. "You called for me, father." This was Shin. "Yes, I called for you to tell you that your request has been granted." Momo's eyes began to brighten. That means. Shin nodded. "Yes, I will allow you to enter UA's hero program. But I will have some rules you would have too." But as Shin was speaking, Momo ran over and gave her father a hug. "Thank you so much." Shin smiled. After a few seconds the two broke the hug. "As I was saying, there will be rules." Momo nodded. "First, you will be top 3 in your class. Failure to do so will result in me rethinking my decision. Second, if you get in any trouble make sure to call me. I don't want you to worry about anything while you are there. And finally third, have fun. If this is truly something you want to do, then I will support you to the best of my ability. If you can follow those rules then I will let you do as you please." Momo nodded. "Of course. Thank you, father. This is what I want to do." "Then so be it. Make sure to respond to the letter of recommendation soon." He then turned around in his chair. "That is all. I'll see you again at dinner where we will discuss this further." Taking her leave, Momo closed the doors behind her. Once they were fully closed she smiled and jumped for joy. "Yes, I can't believe he actually let me go. I can't wait to make some friends." Several weeks later, the seasons were changing. The cold nights were now brisk and Izuku could feel the change. "Now this weather is more like it," he said standing atop of the building. "No snow, no rain. All that stuff messes with my web shooters. I should probably upgrade these someday. Maybe I can add a taser web, or maybe a flamethrower. Now that would be awesome." Sitting on the ledge of a building Izuku sighed. "Well, it's a bit early but I'ma call it. No crimes, and if there are any, the heroes can take care of it. A nice quiet night." Jumping up from a seated position Izuku landed on his feet. "I better take it easy these next couple of days. I don't want to start school with a black eye or something." With that Izuku leaned forward and allowed himself to fall. He disappeared for a second before reappearing and now swinging from building to building. But as he was returning home he suddenly saw several fire trucks. What's the saying? Where's there's smoke there's fire. Let's see this fire. Following the trucks Izuku eventually made it to a large apartment complex fire. Flames were seen coming out of shattered windows. "Get those hoses up here now," the fire chief ordered as he got out of his truck. "I want 2-man teams. Contain this fire before it spreads but do not enter." Landing on the truck Izuku looked down at the chief. "Need some help, chief?" "Actually yes, this fire is burning hot and fast. Thanks to that the entire structure of the building has been compromised, so this whole thing can collapse any second now. And to make matters worse, there are reports of 2 people missing. They might still be trapped." Izuku nodded. "Where?" the vigilante asked. "3rd floor, room 355. The mom and one of her children got out but there's still 2 unaccounted for," the chief said. "Normally I would send my team but the building can come down any moment. But if it's 1 person then it should be fine." Izuku turned towards the building. "I'm going in." "No, you'll die if you go in there," the chief said, concerned. "Sorry kid, but you can't save everyone. I won't accept that." Izuku then fired a web towards the building and launched himself towards it. Crashing through the window he landed into the living room of an apartment, flames burning all around him. The heat was intense. He could barely see anything thanks to smoke. With every breath he could feel his lungs clog up. Damn, it feels like I'm choking. I better find the room, the chief said. Going out of the current apartment he made it to the main hallway. It was even worse. Part of the floor was already gone thanks to the flames. The roof was starting to fall apart like rain from hell. Finding the apartment he was looking for, Izuku kicked the door open. The heat was intense here. "Hello. Is anyone here?" Izuku called out, entering the room. "Come on, kids. Where are you?" "Over here," a voice called out. Izuku turned. "I'm here. Keep talking until I can find you." Carefully making his way towards the voice, Izuku came upon a bed. Crouching down, he looked under it to find two little kids. "Hey, I found you. We're scared," the older one said, as the younger one coughed. "That's okay. It's scary, I know. But let's get out of here. Your mom is waiting for you too." Izuku then extended out his hand. The two kids' hands trembled as they slowly reached out. Standing back up, Izuku now held both kids in his arms. "You two are doing great. We'll be out before you know it." He looked at the window, covered in fire. "No way out. Back the way I came then." Running through the fire, Izuku made it to the hall, but as soon as he did, his danger sense activated. Izuku looked up to see the roof already coming down on him. Using his body, Izuku shielded the two kids, saving both as the roof fell on him. Now under a pile of wood and cement, Izuku grunted as he held everything up with his back. "You two all right?" The kids nodded. "Good." Izuku looked around to see if he could find a way to get these kids out. That's when he noticed a window. "All right, you two stick together. I'm going to get you two out of here." The two kids hugged each other. "Now hold still." Managing to raise his hand, Izuku fired a web at the two. He was creating a cocoon around the two. Once it was complete, Izuku clenched his fist. "Sorry about this, kids, but it's going to get a bit rough." Using just the right amount of force, Izuku punched the cocoon, which in turn sent it flying towards a window. The cocoon shattered the glass window. Those outside saw it fall. It bounced off the wall and rolled to a stop. The firefighters rushed towards the cocoon and sliced it open, revealing the two kids. "We got them." "But where's the spider?" the chief asked. "Why, you have to help him," one of the kids said. "He's trapped." The chief turned to his men. "I'm going in to save the spider. Anyone who wants to follow, get your gear and follow me." The chief was barely able to put on his helmet when the building began to crumble. Then the entire right side of the building fell, followed shortly by the left. "No!" yelled the chief as smoke blanketed the area. After a minute or two, the smoke began to clear. You could still see the red flames from the fire through the smoke. "I want that fire knocked down now. Once it is, send everyone to search for the kid." But as everyone was running around, a silhouette was seen through the smoke. The person was stumbling and fanning the smoke away. "Geez, chief, to think you cared so much." Appearing through the smoke was Izuku, his costume torn, burned, and with smoke still coming off of him. The chief ran over and helped Izuku stay upright. "Jesus, kid, you are one crazy son of a gun." Izuku laughed. "You guys do this all the time?" "Yeah, well, we are trained for this." The chief then turned to the others. "Get the medics over here." Izuku then gently pushed the chief off. "And no, I'm fine. I better get going before the heroes show up." "Kid, you're hurt. You could have smoke inhalation, not to mention I see second-degree burns on your back," the chief said. "I'll heal." Izuku coughed. "What about the kids? Did they make it out all right?" The chief nodded. "They did, they're safe. Thanks to you. That's all that matters." Izuku then turned. "I better go." "Good work today, chief." The chief laughed. "I should be telling you that. Take care, spider." With that, Izuku fired a web into the air and flung himself up. After an eventful night, Izuku made it back to his apartment. Sneaking back in, he entered his room and went towards the bathroom. From there he took off his costume and noticed the injuries, cuts on his arms and burns on his back and abdomen. He touched the burns on his back and winced in pain. Better make sure Uraraka doesn't see these. After taking a bath, Izuku tended to his injuries and headed to bed. What he didn't know was that his vigilante career was about to drastically change. It was now morning when Izuku finally woke up. Making his way to the kitchen, he made himself some eggs. As he ate, he turned on the TV and flipped to the news. It appears that the vigilante known as the Spider-Man has once again rescued civilians from harm. This time it was two kids trapped inside an apartment fire. Witnesses say that the spider leapt into action and saved the two kids. The fire chief who was on the scene also added that he sustained burns after the rescue, but the vigilante refused treatment. The child's parents have praised the vigilante, but the heroes have condemned his actions, calling them reckless and dangerous. The commissioner had this to say. The picture then turned to that of the commissioner. She was a woman with red eyes and long black hair. I don't care what people think he does. This vigilante is undermining the work licensed heroes do every day. He puts people's lives in danger, and if he ends up hurting someone, there is no accountability. So let me be clear, Spider-Man, we will expose you, and you will face true justice. Izuku took a bite out of his food. Well then, she's pretty mad. Just then his apartment door opened up. Hey Midoriya, you awake yet? Uraraka asked, walking in. Oh good, you're eating too, she said, a bit surprised. I mean yeah, is that surprising? Izuku asked. A bit, it's just that, I'm usually the one who wakes you up, said Uraraka. I can go back to sleep if you want. Izuku motioned to his room. No, it's fine, Uraraka said. Anyway, it's almost time for Ua. Nervous? Me nervous? Never, said Izuku confidently. What about you? Uraraka sat on the sofa. Very. I mean I can't wait, but I'm also starting to feel the pressure of it. What if I fail? What if I did all this training, all that studying for nothing? There's just so much that can go wrong. Alright, stop right there, said Izuku, putting his hand up. We've already been through this. You'll be just fine. You got the skills, you got the brain. You are going to be an amazing hero. All you need is a bit of confidence. Taking a breath, Uraraka nodded. I know, but still, this means so much to me and I'm scared I'll mess it up somehow. You won't, Izuku said firmly. Come on, let's go. He then got up. Go where? Uraraka asked as he disappeared into his room. To get your mind off things. Izuku then reappeared, now dressed. Come on, I know just the place. Izuku then dragged Uraraka to the shopping mall. They went store to store and checked out clothes. Uraraka used Izuku as a mannequin and dressed him in all sorts of wacky clothes combinations. After checking out the stores, the two went to see a movie. Izuku insisted he pay, but Uraraka swiped her card before he could. The movie they chose was a romantic comedy. It wasn't something neither he nor Uraraka watched often, but they enjoyed it nonetheless. Feeling a bit hungry, the two then went to grab some food. It almost felt like a date. By the time they were done, it was already night time. Walking down the busy street, Izuku decided to take a detour down to the beach. From there the city lights wouldn't pollute the sky as much. As they walked along the sand, Uraraka looked up to the stars. She loved looking up at the twinkling lights, feeling a bit more relaxed. Izuku asked. Uraraka nodded. Yeah, thanks for this, Midoriya. Don't worry about it. I'll always be here when you need me. But in case I'm not, Izuku reached into his pocket. As Uraraka was looking up, he reached out and attached something to her hair. Uraraka, surprised, touched it, a hairpin. She then noticed its shape. A comet. A smile then appeared on her face. She then turned and looked at the boy. Thank you, Midoriya. I love it. How did you know I wanted this one? I saw you early eyeing it when we were walking around the shopping mall. Izuku explained. Taking it out of her hair, Uraraka looked at it and then Izuku. I can't take this, you need the money, don't you? But Izuku stopped her there. I have some saved up from last time. Besides, I wanted you to have it. Think of it as a congratulations present, for getting into the hero program. But looking at Izuku, Uraraka could tell he wouldn't change his mind. Instead she smiled and put the pin back on. Thank you, Midoriya. Now I need to get you something. You have, Izuku said. You just don't know it yet. Come on, I'll walk you home. After a short while the two made it back to Uraraka's apartment. I'll see you tomorrow. Izuku asked. Yeah, I want to go over what we'll need for Ua on Monday. Uraraka explained. Izuku nodded. Sounds like a plan. The two looked at each other and were just about to turn away when the door to Uraraka's apartment bursted open. You little. Izuku's eyes widened as a fist came flying towards him. Uraraka saw this as well. but just as the fist could hit, Izuku dodged out of the way. "Dad, what the hell?" Uraraka yelled as the one who threw the punch was none other than her father. The man was tall, muscular, with light brown hair and eyes. "I saw this kid going in for a kiss. No one kisses my little girl." Uraraka quickly jumped in and held her father back. What are you saying? Midoriya wasn't going to do anything like that." "Hey Mr. Uraraka, nice to see you too," Izuku said, taking a step back. "The feeling isn't mutual, kid. Now get over here so I can kick your ass," he said, trying to reach for Izuku. In his little burst of anger, Mr. Uraraka didn't see someone approaching him from behind. "Oh dear, are you making trouble for Midoriya again?" Mr. Uraraka went pale when he heard the voice. "Oh, of course not, honey." He slowly began to turn around. "I would never do something like that." Stepping out from inside was a woman with short brown hair and hazelnut-colored eyes. She looked like a more mature version of Uraraka. "Mom, can you help me with him?" Uraraka asked. "Of course, sweetie." The woman then smiled at Mr. Uraraka. The atmosphere around the woman then began to change. Her calm and easy nature began to fade away, and in its place was one of coldness and fear. Lifting her hand, the man activated her quirk, which allowed her to control the gravity of an object just by pointing at it with their hand. "Come on, dear." The man was filled with fear. "Of course, dear." He then turned to Izuku. "Try anything else and I'll make sure to." But once again the man was cut off by the woman. "Dear, I think it's time you stop harassing the boy." Uraraka's father began to sweat. "Yes, ma'am." He then reluctantly went back inside, but not before giving Izuku another glare. "I'm sorry about my husband," Mrs. Uraraka said, now with a gentle smile. "He can be overprotective of his precious little girl." It's fine, really," said Izuku, a bit scared of Uraraka's mother. "I should get going anyway. I'll see you later, Uraraka." With that, Izuku turned to leave. Uraraka stayed and watched as he turned the corner. "So, how was your date?" her mother asked. The girl blushed. "It wasn't a date." "Oh, then why did he buy you that hairpin?" Her mother pointed to the pin in her hair. "If a boy gives a girl a piece of jewelry, that means he likes her." And no, Midoriya was just being nice. Uraraka then thought back to their little outing, and began to think that they did actually just go on a date. "Anyway, I'm going to take a bath." Uraraka's mother smiled as she went inside. "Ought to be young and in love." Monday. Start of UA. Standing in front of his mother's grave, Izuku breathed a sigh of relief. "Well, this is it, Mom. I'm going to UA. I know you can't be here to see me off, or tell me if you're proud of me. But I know you're watching over me. Tell you the truth, I'm nervous. This will be the first time me and Uraraka aren't in the same class. I'll have to make some new friends, and you already know how that went last time." He smiled. "I love you, Mom." With that, Izuku turned around, revealing his UA uniform. Waiting for him just a few meters away was Uraraka. "Ready?" Izuku nodded. "Yeah, let's go." He walked past Uraraka. But before she followed, Uraraka looked back at the grave. "I'll take care of him, Inko. I'll be the best hero and make sure to bring him in, no matter what." The two then took the train directly to UA. Once there, they saw the massive amount of students. Some were general ed, others support, financial, and of course, hero. There were arrows and signs pointing towards the tables for each department. All students were to go to their department and pick up their schedule. "I guess this is where we part ways," said Izuku. Uraraka nodded. "Guess so. I'll text you so we can meet up for lunch." "Sounds like a plan." Izuku was about to go towards his department when Uraraka grabbed his hand. He turned. "What's up?" I just wanted to say that it's okay. It won't turn out like last time." Hearing those words made Izuku smile. "I know. Now go, you're going to be late." With that, Uraraka let Izuku go and they both went to their respective departments. Grabbing his schedule, Izuku saw it was like any other schedule: science, history, English, but the main difference being the support department class, which was also his homeroom. The support department was near the far end of the school near the track and field. There were two different classes for the support department, Class 1 and Class 2. Izuku was in Class 1. Opening the door to the room, he noticed several other people already in their seats. Reading the seating chart in front of the class, he noticed he was seated next to someone named Mei Hatsume. Finding his seat, he saw who was going to be his classmate for the next year. She had pink dreadlocks, yellow-colored eyes with a crosshair pattern, and was currently building something with the things inside her bag. Izuku took notice of what she was building. Are you building a grapple device? Mei turned. Yeah, how did you know? The cartridge you're using is of compressed O2, combined with that expandable rescue rope. It was pretty obvious, said Izuku. Mei smiled. Hey, you're pretty good. My name is Mei Hatsume, what's yours? Izuku Midoriya. It's nice to meet you. And thus was the start of a strange friendship. As the class talked amongst each other, the door opened, revealing a short man with spiky ginger hair, blue eyes, and a large mouth. The strange thing was that he was wearing a helmet in the shape of an excavator claw. He had no shirt, large gray gloves, and plain gray pants. This was the man who was going to teach them, the hero known as Power Loader. All right, everyone, settle down. Welcome to your first day at UA. My name is Higuri Maijima, or you could just call me Power Loader. I will be teaching you how to be the best in this field. Something that you should understand now is that we will fail, but our gadgets won't. Every hero needs gear, whether that be a new costume, a gadget that helps manage their quirk, or even something simple as repairing a zipper. They can and will endure pain, but a faulty gadget could be a matter of life and death. That's where we come in. We in the support department will do just that, support the heroes. It's not a glamorous job and we might not get the limelight, but we are no less important. Some of you may be thinking of joining a large corporation, while others may want to start their own. Same rules apply here as they do in the outside world. Under no circumstance are you to make faulty equipment, am I understood? Everyone in class nodded. Good, then let's start with roll call and move on to the syllabus. Being the first day of class, it was rather slow, mostly going over what to expect and what projects there would be. By the end of it, Izuku had a good idea of what to expect during the year. A couple of classes went by and it was now time for lunch. As he walked towards the cafeteria, he got a text from Uraraka. Hey, I'm already at the cafeteria. Saved you a seat. Getting in line for some food, Izuku scanned the area to find where Uraraka was sitting. Now with his plate he noticed her. She was sitting with 3 other people. As he approached, Uraraka stood up. Hey Midoriya, over here. Seeing an empty seat beside her, Izuku sat down. So how was the support department? She asked. It's awesome. My professor is amazing, and the people, are different. Said Izuku. Speaking of people, he looked at the others. Oh right, sorry. Guys, this is the friend I was talking about. Starting with the girl with the pink hair, that's Mina Ashido. Uraraka motioned towards the girl. Whoa Uraraka, I thought he was going to be a nerd-looking guy, but he's rather good-looking. Mina said, her eyes scanning Izuku. Izuku blushed slightly. Mina. Anyway, next up is Suyu Asui. Call me Sue, Ribbit, said the girl with large round eyes and long black hair. And last but not least, Tenya Iida. Uraraka then motioned to a tall boy who wore glasses. Greetings, he said, pushing up his glasses. It's nice to meet you all. My name is Izuku Midoriya. He said, I take it you're all in the hero course. Yup, what about you? I would have remembered you if you were at the entrance exams. Mina said devilishly. I'm actually with the support department. Izuku responded. I like building stuff to help future heroes like you. Ah well, aren't you sweet? You can help me anytime you want. Mina said, giving Izuku a wink. Izuku blushed. Uraraka reached under and pinched his leg. Anyway, how was your first hero class? The mood changed on all 4 hero course students. Whoa, that bad? We got tested on day 1. Said Sue. And if we failed we would have gotten expelled from the hero course. Said Iida. At first we thought he was bluffing, but after he said he's done it before we took it seriously. Uraraka sighed, sighing. We tried our asses off on those tests only to find out he was lying this whole time. Mina said, he was never going to kick us out. He only wanted us to be motivated. Sounds rough, said Izuku, taking a bite out of his food. But I guess whatever works to get you motivated. Yeah, but there are other ways he could have done that, said Uraraka. Also, you won't believe who's in our class. I think you still remember this person. Really? Who? Izuku asked. Me, said a voice behind Izuku. Turning around, Izuku's eyes widened. It's good to see you again, Izuku Midoriya. I remember you. Yeah, you're the girl with the big, but before Izuku could finish that sentence, Uraraka smacked him over the head. Momo Yaoyorozu, right? Momo let out a small laugh. I'm surprised you remember me. Your suggestion back then was very helpful. Glad I could help. So do I get some sort of royalty? Izuku asked playfully. Momo once again laughed. We can discuss that later. Just so you know, the offer still stands. Izuku was a bit surprised. Really, after all this time? Momo nodded. Of course, you got into the support department, right? So your intellect hasn't declined. Besides, I wouldn't be a very good businesswoman if I let someone like you go. So, what do you say? As tempting as it is, I rather see what life is after graduation. Said Izuku. See other offers. I can assure you my father's company will reward you handsomely. But I also know when to back off. Pressure someone too much and you'll drive them away. Said Momo, backing off. Fair warning, I often get what I want, by any means. Izuku smirked. Fair warning about me, I can be very stubborn. Right, Uraraka. He turned to find Uraraka, her cheeks slightly puffed and looking away. Uraraka. Oh yeah, very stubborn. She said quickly, glancing at him. Mina saw this and gave Sue a nudge. You see what I'm seeing? Ribbit. Yes I do. They both then looked at each other. Someone has a crush. The two continued to argue and banter until it was the end of lunch. Everyone else got up to put away their plates. Izuku was doing the same when he was grabbed by the shirt. He turned. Uraraka. There's something else you need to know. She said, with hesitation. Well the thing is. Seeing that Uraraka was struggling to get the words out, Izuku grabbed her hand. Hey, whatever it is you can tell me. Uraraka nodded. I know, it's just. Want to come over to my place? We can talk there, Izuku suggested, to which Uraraka nodded. Alright then. With that, Uraraka let go of Izuku. I'll see you then. The two then parted ways. Izuku went back to class and found that the other subjects were boring. The only one he found interesting was the support classes and engineering. After suffering through, the school finally let out. Izuku waited for Uraraka out by the front gate. After a short while she appeared. Without saying a word, the two got on a train and made it to Izuku's home. Inside, Uraraka loosened her tie and sat on the couch. Izuku on the other hand went to grab some tea for the both of them. Is everything all right? Izuku asked, handing her a cup of tea. You're starting to scare me. I ran into someone in the hero course. Uraraka said, it's someone I hope never to see again. Izuku took a deep breath and exhaled. It was Bakugo, wasn't it? Uraraka nodded. Yes, I already told you, Uraraka, let it go. The more you think about it, the more you'll get angry. And we both know how you get when you're all mad. Izuku said, trying to laugh it off. I know, but just seeing him again made me want to walk over there and punch him in the face. Uraraka clenched her fist. I almost did. All right, stop, said Izuku sternly. You won't be hitting anyone. One, you'll probably break his nose, and secondly, if you do, you'll get suspended or even expelled from UA. And I will not be the reason why you get kicked out. But, no buts, Izuku said. Please, I know you don't like him, but don't ruin your chances of becoming a hero because of what someone did in the past. I'm not asking you to be friends with him, only that you tolerate him. Uraraka let out a sigh. Okay. Good, now enough about him. Tell me about the hero course. Izuku said with excitement. I want to know their quirks and everything. Uraraka laughed. All right. So starting off with the people you saw at lunch. To be continued. I hope you enjoyed this story. Also remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.